Shalom, shalom, and welcome. Welcome to White Roads Family. This is the playlist of White Roads Family, and this is installment, the 75th installment. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. In this installment, I want to bring your attention to the importance of time as it relates to language and function. My brothers and sisters, there are no doubts that we will not return to life the way it was yesterday, last week, last month, or last year, or anything like it before us. We have entered an era where we are moving beyond types and shadows, and end times are growing intense. Uncertainty is magnifying before us. Though many may not speak of it, there are anxieties. There are people looking for answers. There are brothers and sisters among us that's just getting plain tired and wore down. But before I get into why time as it relates to language and function is important, let me read the following. Warning and disclaimer. The information contained in White Roads Family represent instructions and warnings to individuals who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator, Yahuah, to Yahushua Mashiach, and I'm referencing John 6:44. The content presented centers around end-time realities. Please be advised this site is not intended for children under 16 years of age to be compliant with various media platforms. By continuing forward, you agree to hold Symmanayah harmless of any influence and or actions that arise as a result of watching, listening, and or viewing the content presented. The views expressed do not reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. Please note I am not affiliated with anyone or organization with similar names. With that said, let's get into it. My brothers and sisters, as I go through this, I want to say this to you. As many as are awakening to the truth, whether it be Hebrews, which is could also be called Abraham, or Goyim, which means other nations, all other nations. That's what Gentiles mean. Whether you're Hebrew or Gentile, if you're made one by Yahushua, our Mashiach, also known as Messiah, I want to say to you, there's the urge and probably the desire to understand Hebrew. What many mores, which means teachers, pastors, bishops, whatever the case may be, there are many who are promoting outwardly that they know Hebrew and that they're teaching Hebrew and that you cannot understand the scriptures unless you know Hebrew. And I'm here to tell you, my brothers and sisters, you can find numerous scriptures that emphasize the importance of the name and of names. But there are no scriptures that tell you to go back and learn the original Hebrew. There is one passage that states that the Spirit of Yahuah will bring us back to a pure lip or our pure language. That will not occur until transformation time, my brothers and sisters, until the arrival of Yahushua Mashiach. There's nothing wrong with studying various languages. There's nothing wrong with understanding history. But one thing I want to say to you, my brothers and sisters, if you are newly awakened, there are those among us who have been given a Hebrew name, a name that the Almighty Father has given us for whatever reason, for whatever purposes. And there are those He hasn't. He have not given a Hebrew name. And there are those that desire a Hebrew name, and I have no conflict, no issue with them. But I do have a conflict with those who are leading you to believe that they're teaching you the original Hebrew. They are teaching mostly a form of Aramaic Hebrew. This is not the pure lip that Zephaniah speaks of, and I'll get into that verse. So if you're spending a lot of time in fellowships or under the teachings of a more that's constantly telling you this is the Hebrew, if you search them out, and you search their recordings, some of them will make fun and say, yeah, I could say something and tell you that's what it means in Hebrew, and you wouldn't know because you don't know Hebrew. My brothers and sisters, where have we seen such behavior like this from anybody that is obedient to the Almighty Father, let alone to make fun of it? Initially, I thought maybe it was a need for me to learn and pursue the Hebrew language. And in my prayer, in my study, in my pursuit and meditation, I believe that the Almighty Father said, there are names that I will give. There are names that I will permit. And names are important. But I believe that the Spirit of Yahuah said to me in the name of Yahusha, do not go chasing after the original language. In due season that will come. Why is this important, my brothers and sisters? Look around as COVID-19, as protests and riots, as people are torn with making decisions on whether to pursue Black Lives Matter or any other initiatives, where people are torn to determine what group, what camp, what assembly they should be with. Do you really think that there is time for us to embrace a full and complete language? As earthquakes and volcanoes erupt, as end times conditions gets worse, as people begin to starve, die of hunger, or face hunger, as people are battling with diseases and sicknesses, whether it be COVID-19 or any other, do you think that the Most High would have us trying to learn a language in a time when the scriptures tell us the days will be shortened? What's more important, my brothers and sisters? If the Most High is gathering his children from the four corners of the earth, if the Most High is gathering 144,000, 12,000 of each of the 12 tribes of Yashar'al, if the Most High is gathering a great multitude of which no man can number, that is also a remnant, as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter, do you believe there will be people that are fluent in Hebrew language that will guide and direct his children? Think again. My brothers and sisters, if you're spending most of your time just trying to decide what's the Hebrew language, even in the Hebrew language, think about this as it relates to time. A brother, a teacher, a more, comes to you and tell you this is what that English word means in Hebrew, or this is what the original Hebrew was, and then they tell you the Hebrew, and then they tell you the Hebrew means back to where you started, the English. If we begin to look at the function of any interpretation, look at the seed, look at the function of the matter, and here we will discover the set-apart truth. Those who claim to know Hebrew or throw a word or two, ask them to tell you in Hebrew to go get a glass of water and give it to this brother that's dying of thirst, who's over in another city. Tell them to tell you all that in Hebrew. Ask yourself, my brothers and sisters, as end times ramp up, do you honestly believe that you need to know Hebrew? Whatever language you have, my brothers and sisters, get to the function of it. For we will see as we begin together, just the mere gesture of doing our hand like that, no matter what language a person have, would indicate one who desires drink or who's drinking. When we begin to look at the function, my brothers and sisters, opening our mouths, eat, the gesture in itself. Are you aware that the original Hebrew text was in pictures and symbols? And over time, it's been rewritten into various languages. In some cases, books have been left out. In some cases, passages have been changed, bringing about uncertainty on whether a new moon represents a new month. You see, my brothers and sisters, the Almighty Father wants us to look at the function, wants us to see the connection of all that is related to building life and worshiping and obeying Him. Come with me, my brothers and sisters. Allow me to present the case regarding time, language, and function. Listen prayerful regarding drinking water. How many languages do you think you need to have to ask someone for water, or to give someone water, or to locate water? You see, during these end times, during drought, famine, pestilence, and disease, drinking water would be one of the most valuable and sought after commodities. Even to this day, as we discovered contaminated water wells, whether it be Flint, Michigan, or in your own city. Many urban cores, they don't speak of this, but the infrastructure, the water infrastructures are deteriorated, and they're masking it with massive chemicals. The water is not as fresh as we think. Even bottled water is not as pure as we think. But I say to you, my brothers and sisters, do you want to spend time trying to learn the language of giving people instruction about how to find water, how to purify water? You see, it's going to be important. Food, that's famine, that's hunger. As food becomes scarce, as grocery stores, as the shelves begin to empty, my brothers and sisters, discussing what foods to eat, when to eat it, how to ration foods, communication, language. What language do you think is important? Do you think Hebrew is it? Safety and shelter. If someone is telling you in Hebrew where to find safety and shelter, do you think during the time of massive gatherings that everyone will be fluent, or that our dependency should be on those who say they speak Hebrews? Even when it comes to the assemblies, my brothers and sisters. Again, I'm not attacking it, but I'm saying to you, as it relates to time, end times are ramping up. We need to spend time vetting, examining, learning, studying, discerning the voice of the Spirit of the Almighty Father, and communicate as He direct, as He guide us, as He direct us. My brothers and sisters, I've mentioned this once before. I want to read this. Walking in wisdom, instructions of life, and focus. You will notice that I speak of vetting and examining, and you will notice that there are many times I speak of the 7 feast days, each bringing a purpose that can help contribute towards the building of maturity, so that we're able to worship and obey the Almighty Father, so that we're able to discern how we manage our time and what is right versus what is wrong. Passover is one of instructions for life. And I tend to demonstrate Passover by telling people each day we should think about the instructions towards life. Consider Colossians 4:5 say, walk in wisdom towards those who are outside, redeeming the time. We don't have time, my brothers and sisters. This is a time we should be gaining closeness with one another, getting to know one another. The same closeness that you would give towards pursuing a wife or a husband. Should we not use some of the same intensity of getting to know one another that we would use for a spouse? Are we not family members in Yahushua HaMashiach? Should we not spend time learning how to discern, how to submit ourselves one to another, and how to walk in wisdom? Proverbs 4:23 through 26 through 27, I speak of often. I have it on the screen, and I'll read it. It said, watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life. Turn away from you a crooked mouth, and put perverse lips far from you. Let your eyes look forward, and your eyelids look straight before you. Consider the path of your feet, and all your ways are established. Do not turn to the right or the left. Turn your foot away from evil. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, end times require us to manage our time wisely. We need to begin to reflect when we communicate with one another, echo back what we think we've gotten out of that individual's words to make sure we're talking apples to apples, so to speak, or oranges to oranges. My brothers and sisters, you can grab all the books you want, but know this, books are written by man. Even the scriptures were written by men, but they were written by men that were anointed by the Almighty Father, Yahuah, and directed to write them. Anything outside of that, my brothers and sisters, examine them wisely. They should fall in line with what we know are scriptures that have been made alive before us. Have you ever taken the time to ask yourself, how much time is spent pursuing a language that is not the original language of the chosen of Abba Yahuah? It's a misconception to make people think that you're more anointed, you're more spiritual, because you know a little bit more Hebrew when it's not the original language. So many people are caught up. Now, will a person use a Hebrew word that's Aramaic from time to time? Sure, that's different from English and different from any other language that our captors have inundated us with. But to make people think that you have the original Hebrew language or that you're closer to the Almighty Father is wicked and wrong. I want to share this passage with you, my brothers and sisters. Romans 12, verse 2 and 3. It said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is good, what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of the Almighty One. Goes on to say, for I say, through the favor which has been given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he should think, but to think soberly, as the Almighty One has given to each a measure of belief. My brothers and sisters, there are those among us who think more highly of themselves because of their use of Hebrew words here and there. Soon, if not already, you will agree with me, end times will bring emergency conditions that require clear and accurate language and actions. As the days are shortened, as movement begins, let us begin to ask questions of one another. Let us get to know one another. I said to you, my brothers and sisters, that I will ask the question very frequently. And that is, are you satisfied with your leader, your teacher, your moray, your pastor, your bishop? Are they giving you instructions on what to do in the event that they die or become incapacitated? Are they giving you teachings and instructions on what to do in the event the Spirit of Yahuah is guiding you to move away from that community, that camp, that fellowship, because he has some work for you somewhere else? Are they telling you what to do as you grow in maturity? Are they telling you to identify your place, your purpose, whether it be a leader, a follower, a teacher of many different traits and skills? Whatever position that the Most High have for you in the bringing together of a set-apart nation, my brothers and sisters, are the leaders nurturing, confirming, or are they trying to prop themselves, or are they allowing their followers to prop them up over Yahushua Mashiach? It is written that Yahusha will draw all men. I believe it's John 12:32, where he said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men to myself. My brothers and sisters, let me look it up real quick. And I just want you to know, movement is coming. There are things that are required of us. Are the leaders presenting what is required? Bear with me, my brothers and sisters. Just want to confirm, make sure, and I speak of it often, but I want to make sure I am giving you the right citation. Yes, John 12:32. With Almighty Father, where Yahusha is quoted as saying, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men. You see, if we seek to discern the voice of the Almighty Father in Yahusha's name, as it is written, in our worship, and out of our worship comes obedience to him, obeying his 10 commandments, his laws and statutes, as we are directed and guided, as the word come alive within us, through us, working together, my brothers and sisters. As our worship and obedience improve, that's how we lift up Yahusha. That's how we find ourselves truly being drawn together. But if our leaders or teachers and mores are not teaching us the things that gives us the ability to grow and set apartness, whether they are around or not, something is wrong. The languages that we speak vary across the globe. But make no mistake, as emergencies become intense, you'll see that gestures, hand motions, and there will be those who will help others know they're different in various languages as we come together. And then eventually we will begin to understand how to communicate. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. End times require us to communicate. And I say the ways we communicate now is important. The teachings we receive now are important. And when we don't understand, let's ask questions. Let's examine for the purposes of knowing what is right, what is true. My brothers and sisters, it's time to choose. It really is time to choose. Will we spend, how much time do you spend pursuing what you think is the Hebrew language? How much time are you spending getting to know someone, asking questions about all that you can about a person? The things that make for a loving relationship. I'm saying a relationship and set of partners, as well as a loving relationship for those that would be husband and wife, or husband and wives. My brothers and sisters, there are many who think by speaking modern Hebrew that this makes them appear to be well learned. Consider these words. Matthew 23:25-26. It says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are filled with plunder and unrighteousness. Blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, so that the outside of them become clean too. I say to you, my brothers and sisters, it's time to establish priorities and manage our time wisely. Choose wisely. Will we continue to pursue, to try to learn the Hebrew language? Do you honestly believe you are going to be one among many that will speak fluent Hebrew, only to find out that that's Yiddish or Aramaic or some other dialect? Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. To those who have been called to learn the various language, I salute you and I recognize. But to those who are pushing that you must know the Hebrew language in order to know or have a better relationship with the Almighty Father, these instructions are wrong because the pure lip has not been demonstrated. We have yet to find someone speaking fluent, set apart Hebrew before our very eyes. And to what avail if there is no one to interpret and understand what they're saying? Consider these words, O Yashar'al. The final exodus will consist of many. As I say, do you honestly think everyone will be speaking what these mores are calling the Hebrew language? Do not fall for false teachings, nor reject the obedient ones led by the Spirit of Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name. You see, my brothers and sisters, here is this verse that centers around many who think that they're pursuing the right set apart language. Zephaniah 3:9 say, for then I shall turn unto the peoples a clean lip, so that they all call on the name of Yahuah to serve him with one shoulder. My brothers and sisters, that time and season will come, but it is not now. Pray and watch. Do you know that in Revelation it talks about a great multitude in the 7th chapter, 9th verse, and it said many nations, kindreds, and tongues. It didn't say that in that 7th chapter, it doesn't read, and there's no scripture that reads that during the tribulation, as they came out of the tribulation, they came out with one tongue. It said there was many nations, kindreds, and tongues, different languages. But see, beyond the language itself, there's a uniform way of communicating as it relates to eating, drinking, and safety. These are 3 core things that we must learn and focus on when we begin to look at the function of all that is being said to us. It is so important. Do I seem redundant? You say, well, I don't need to listen anymore. That's your choice. I will continue, though. My brothers and sisters, end times will prove the order needed regarding language and function. Consider Matthew chapter 23 through 28. He said, blind guides, straining out a gnat and swallowing a camel. Straining out a net. Many people don't realize this, my brothers and sisters, but those who are trying to tell you all these grandiose things when it comes to the Hebrew language, they want to make you think that they swallowed and they've eaten all this big stuff. But when it comes to something as small as the function of communication, as small as a net, they're straining. They're having difficulties discerning. He goes on in the 25th through the 28th verse saying, woe to you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are filled with plunder and unrighteousness. Blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and dish so that the outside of them becomes clean too. Woe to you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly indeed look well, but inside are filled with dead man bones and all uncleanness. So you too outwardly indeed appear righteous to men, but inside you are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness. My brothers and sisters, you see, trying to flatter someone with having them to think that you know the Hebrew language, that makes you more learned in the scriptures, is a departure from the priorities, because the function, the action, the seed of our communication. In other words, here's a test. Go to anyone that is teaching Hebrew or trying to encourage you that you can't get closer to the Most High unless you know Hebrew or it has more meaning. Go to them, my brothers and sisters, and ask them to tell you something in Hebrew. And then ask them to convey it so that you understand. Put it in the simplest form that they can. And then look at how long it took. Or did you end up with going right back to the English language? Or if you're Spanish, or if you're French speaking, or if you're Swahili, Bantu, Ghanaian, Japanese, whatever the language is, ask anyone that's telling you that Hebrew is where you need to be and see, do they bring you back to the language that you know? You see, discover assigned priorities are important during these end times. We must be able to communicate and act on what the Almighty Father is directing us to do. Yashar'al or Yashar'al. What say you? What is your choice? What are your priorities? Allow me to move forward. My brothers and sisters, let's learn how and when to yield to when the Most High is speaking to us. Consider this, Ephesians 5:17 to 5:21. I speak of it often. It says, so then do not be foolish, but understand what the desire of Yahuah is. Do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to each other in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to the Master, giving thanks always for all to Almighty One, the Father, in the name of our Master, Yahushua Messiah, subjecting yourselves to each other in fear of the Almighty One. My brothers and sisters, I cannot stress enough that we have entered into a time where we must begin to ask questions and identify those who are chosen by the Almighty Father to teach us, to guide us, to lead us. My brothers and sisters, I can't stress enough. It's very important to know what is expected during the times ahead, the times of living instructions. What instructions are you receiving? Hebrew, English, Spanish, Bantu, Swahili, French, Japanese. Look at the function of those instructions. Look at the seed of those instructions. Do they magnify the Almighty Father? Do they work for the building of life? Do they work towards the connecting of a set-apart family? Will they contribute towards the unity that is required for the 144,000 and great multitude? It's important to know what is expected. Look at how we spend in our time, O Yashar'al. Tell me, my brothers and sisters, are you aware why it's important to identify set-apart times? Why it's important to define what communications take priority? Will you continue each week just to go to someone because they're teaching you the Hebrew? Ask them, how would that be a contributing factor for the coming together of Yashar'al? And if anyone try to make you think that the Hebrew language that they're teaching is the purest of language, again, ask them, what position or how would that help me in the instructions I receive as end times ramp up? Let us ask questions. Let us get people to define and equip us with wise instruction as it relates to what the Most High Father in Yahusha's name will have us to learn and know that will help and aid in the bringing together. You see, we talk about being gathered from the four corners of the earth, but many don't think about the processes and details. Some will even agree that the Almighty Father will discipline his children, as Hebrews 12th chapter informs us in Revelation 3:19, but we don't ask ourselves, what methods will he use? Some of us say we believe the scriptures. We fail to realize that there have been times the Almighty Father called famine, pest, and disease to weaken us, our earthen vessels, so that we recognize his power and his strength and yield to him. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al. If I asked you to tell me something about communication, could you talk about it in a half hour, an hour? What does precise communications mean to you? Wouldn't you want to know what direction you should be going, what things you should be doing in the coming days as things become intense? Do you know what to do in the case you cannot connect and find the ones you've been fellowshipping with or your family member? What happens if you're separated because of volcanic activities, war, earthquakes, or borders being closed off because of quarantine? Do you know what to do? My instructions to you, O Yashar'al, is believe that you can discern the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha. Study and pray. Know what questions to ask. As things come to mind, ask the right questions. Ask continuous questions till you can see the life spurring up in your spirit, within your mind. You will know what to do, because in identifying in the still of silence what the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha is saying to you, he will come to you in the language he sees fit so that you understand. And he will direct you. He will direct you. He will direct me until our last breath, or he will direct us to whom we are to be with if we are among those gathered from the four corners of the earth. It will occur. It will occur successful. Trust and believe, O Yashar'al. This is the time to know the importance of communications. How to communicate, how to draw closer to one another. I cannot stress enough, my brothers and sisters, how the purpose in the Feast of Passover, one of the purposes is for us to pass from generation to generation the importance of instructions that lead to life, that builds life. For without those instructions, there is no Passover. The instructions came, the action was the Passover, and those who obeyed the Almighty Father experienced life as directed in the initial Passover. And those who accept the Passover lamb as Yahushua Mashiach, those that are drawn by the Almighty Father to Yahushua Mashiach, will recognize life everlasting. Instructions to life. My brothers and sisters, do you really think that all that is happening, that there aren't individuals receiving instructions? Like in the days of Noah, he received instructions on the size of the ark, who would be allowed in it, what he should put in it. Have you become aware of living set-apart instructions or plans? Just as Noah received plans and instructions and he built the ark and knew what was supposed to be, do you not think that the Almighty Father wants us to begin to start thinking about what supplies for those here whom he's directing to gather supplies? Do not think for a second that the Almighty Father is not directing some to say, be prepared to walk away from all of it, just with the clothes on your back. You see, there will be times we will walk away. Some may be ordered and guided to have resources and supplies, and some may not. And they come together and they share. Plans. How many of us are witnessing instructions from leaders on what we're supposed to be doing as things ramp up? As borders are going through the process where some borders are closed, some people are quarantined, the government don't know what to do. I say to you, O Yashar'al, prepare, seek within you. For many of us are experiencing our spirit stirring. Many of us will begin to start asking questions. Many of us will begin to start acting and moving to where we're supposed to be. We will find ourselves being directed to take our rightful positions during these end times. As I bring this to a close, my brothers and sisters, I'm sharing a slide that I've shared over and over. And basically it's indicating there are set apart plans, my brothers and sisters. Plans that will answer many questions that we have. You see, my brothers and sisters, as we seek out instructions from the Most High, the realities of end times are getting more and more intense before our very eyes. And the question that I would ask you Yashar'al? Are you receiving the instructions that are necessary to do the will of the Almighty Father? Do any of the plans talk about building teams of proven leaders that's been vetted, proven to be chosen by the Spirit of the Almighty Father? Are you amongst any plan or participating? Are you included in plans to develop information and resource centers? These things are necessary in the coming together of Yashar'al as movement begins. Building a team with diverse skills. Have we identified the people that are teaching our young men or women the skills that they need as it relates to our movement, our coming together? My brothers and sisters, as for those in the Western Hemisphere, I believe that the exit point will be Virginia. So are any one of your camps or communities talking about moving to Virginia before moving across the Atlantic? And I believe in many other countries, Yashar'al will begin to move to the outermost border that is closest to the promised land, with the destination, the true Mount Sinai, which is currently known as Jabal-Al'az. How many people have identified safe zones where, as you find yourself migrating or moving or traveling, that you know where you can stop and freshen up, strengthen up, get some water, some food? How many people are talking about detailed instructions and guidance for completing this journey? How many are talking about providing guidance for the set-apart children of Yahuah, as we find ourselves identifying those included, facing lifestyle changes? My brothers and sisters, deliverance come. Do you have any idea of what we're supposed to be doing while waiting on Yahushua Mashiach? White Rose family, my brothers and sisters, let's talk about it. Let's identify actionable plans given by the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, all plans have a cost. It's time to count the cost. Use it or lose it. Consider the supplies, the resources, the skills, the abilities that the Almighty Father has entrusted you with, has given to you. Are you using them? Are you contributing these skills before the body of Yashar'al, that we may become strengthened in our preparation for movement? I invite you to subscribe and share. Help me, O Yashar'al. Pass the message. There are those who have the patience and the tolerance to listen, and there are those who want it quick. Whatever the case may be, my confidence comes in Isaiah 55:11, knowing that any word from the Almighty Father will perform and do what it set out to do. Consider supporting, my brothers and sisters. Get involved, whether it be resources, supplies, skills, or money. Ask questions, my brothers and sisters. Ask questions regarding time, actions, teachings. Email me. Let's begin the dialogue, my brothers and sisters. And as I stated, this segment was about time, language, and function. Whatever communications you have with anyone, whatever language one is trying to pursue or push on you, or have led you to the point where you have a hunger for that language, ask yourself the function. What is the core function of what you're learning, and how will it apply to these final days, these end times? How will it apply to Yashar'al coming together in unity to fulfill the final exodus? Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, I salute your patience, your tolerance, your zeal, your desire to pursue set-apartness. But know this, it is the spirit of a man that is linked with Yahushua Mashiach And we will learn how to manage these earthen vessels, and we will learn how to manage them as it relates to communication, language, and what functions should follow. In the name of Yahushua, I come to you, my brothers and sisters, and I salute your patience, and I say thank you for your tolerance and endurance. There's much more to come. On that note, I will say to you, my brother, my sister, my family, Shalum.